Are you ready for some paranormal pastries? Happy New Year everyone, it's Tash and welcome to another recipe video. And to ring in the new year, I am going to be making UFO tarts, also known as cowpat tarts. I have a very special place in my heart for these pastries. They come from a place called Sandakan in Malaysia. It's a city in Borneo. And Sandakan's where my mum grew up in. And it's also where UFO tarts are from. UFO tarts are basically flat sponge cake bases with custard in the middle and topped up with a torched meringue. And the name comes from their shape. Actually, they have two names, the first one being UFO tart, and that's usually when you have the piped meringue around the edge, custard's in the middle and it's open, kind of looks like a UFO, maybe if you squint. And its other name is cow dung tart or cow dung pile, and that shape is, you still have that flat sponge base, but the custard is in the middle and then covered by a swirl of meringue, which is also torched, but it's swirled to look basically like that emoji, and that's where it gets its slightly off-putting name. But they're both exactly the same, both delicious. And I found as time has gone on, actually the UFO style of it has become more popular. When I was younger, I saw more of the cow dung style ones around, but now more bakeries are doing the UFO style. Probably because it's more Instagrammable. But either way, I love them. And I published my first recipe about them way back in 2013 on my blog tashcakes.com. Then I did a version 2, and now it's taken me all this time to revise it so it's actually in grams and not like a weird number of tablespoons. So now the recipe is the same, just a little more sensible. My recipe makes 24 rounds of sponges, about, it depends on how big your scoops are, but a little bit less in custard and meringue, so you might have 4 to 6 sponge circles that aren't filled, so you have a little bit of leeway in case you make a mistake with one of them. And the little sponge cakes are really tasty by themselves anyway. So let's go to the kitchen and see how it's done. So we're going to use the yolks for our custard and the whites for the outside part, so I'm going to put the whites away for now, but we will use them in a minute. And we're going to mix a tablespoonful of custard powder into these yolks. Ooh, that's hard to get out, but don't worry because I'm going to use a tablespoonful of sugar to help get the rest of that custard powder out. Little trick there. Give this a little bit of a stir until it's smooth. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoonful of vanilla extract and also 55 milliliters of sweetened condensed milk. And finally for the custard, I'm also going to add 150 milliliters of milk. Now you can cook this in one of two ways. You can either pop this in the microwave and give it short bursts of 30 seconds, 1 minute, and then stir in between until it's thick. Or, as I'm going to do, you can cook it in a pan, because I don't have a microwave, so let's do the pan method today. So I've got my custard mixture here over a medium heat, and I'm just going to keep stirring until it thickens. Okay, our custard's thick, let's put it in our bowl and cover it. And this is what I mean by the cling film touching the surface to help prevent the skin of the custard. So now we're going to just leave that to cool completely. Let's preheat our oven to 180 degrees C. Next, I've prepared myself a few baking sheets which I've lined with non-stick baking paper. This is actually the silicone reusable kind, which I like because you can wash and use again and again. I've actually had these for a few years, they're great, and they do not stick at all, so these are perfect. And I have 3 big trays which I've lined, because we're going to do a few batches. Now we're going to separate 3 eggs. I quite like this recipe because you won't have any egg whites or egg yolks left over. We're going to use all of the eggs that we're using today, the whole egg, but we are going to separate them each time. And we're going to whip up the egg whites until they form stiff peaks. That's what we mean by stiff peaks, and if you turn the bowl upside down, it doesn't go anywhere. Right, let's deal with the egg yolks next. Make sure you do the egg whites first, by the way, because you don't want to introduce oil into the egg whites, otherwise they won't be as fluffy when you whip them up. Now we're going to add 85 grams of caster sugar to our egg yolks, and we're going to whip these up until they're fluffy too. See how it's gone really nice and pale and fluffy? That's exactly what we want. Now I'm going to add 40 grams of plain flour and a little pinch of salt. And I'm going to fold these together. And now I'm going to add the egg whites. Just to loosen the mixture up, I'm going to add a little bit first, maybe about a third of those egg whites, because the mixture is quite thick at the moment. Remember, the aim is to lose as little air as possible, so we're using gentle scooping motions to incorporate our egg whites. Now let's add the rest of the egg whites in. And that's it. You just want to fold it until it's just about incorporated and we have a nice thick fluffy cake batter. Now what we're going to do is super simple. We are going to take a spoonful of the mixture and we're literally going to drop it straight onto our lined baking sheets like this. And now we're going to bake them for about 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, we have been waiting for 8 minutes for these bad boys to bake and we've got some lovely sponge drops and they're about this size, which I know isn't very descriptive for you, but yeah, this size. And we're going to let these cool down completely and bake our other batches. Now let's make our meringue. We've got these 3 egg whites which we separated earlier and we're going to beat them until they form stiff peaks. Now we're going to add 75 grams of caster sugar and a teaspoonful of corn flour, and this is going to help stabilise our meringue. I'm just going to use my trick again to get all of that corn flour out by mixing it with a bit of the caster sugar. Now we're going to whisk it again until it's nice and glossy. Lovely. Now I am going to scoop this into this piping bag here, which I have fitted with a round tip nozzle. That's a wide round tip, and we're going to get piping. We are going to bring back our sponge discs, and this is the fun part. Now there are 2 popular ways of doing this. The first way is when you put the custard in the middle first and you make quite a firm custard, and then you pipe around and you make a little, little cow patch shape, like a perfect little piece of dung. Or you make the UFO shape, is when you pipe the meringue first all around and then you pipe the custard, which is a bit softer, in the middle, and it makes a sort of, a round UFO. And actually that one at the moment is more popular with the current generation because the cowpat one can look a little bit sus, it can look a bit grim, but it is tasty. It's just a shame that it looks like literal cow dung, hence the name cow dung pile or cow dung tarts, but we're going to make the UFO version. So I've got my meringue in my piping bag and I'm literally going to pipe round like this, just a couple of times, like this. Do it again and again and again. Now I just realised I haven't peeled these off of the thing yet, but thankfully this is quite non-stick, as you'll see. This is why it's so important to use a good non-stick liner. So what I'm going to do now, before I forget, and before these get any heavier with custard, is I'm going to peel these bad boys off like this, and I'm going to put them on a baking tray, so be right back. Finally, I have, well, not finally, nearly finally, we have the custard, which I've also bagged up with a round tip. We're going to pipe it straight in the middle. And now finally for real, we are going to torch the meringue and make a sort of marshmallow. Now you can actually do this under the grill, but if you remember when I made my cake lattice, my grill currently shorts the entire circuit of the flat, so I can't use my grill at the moment, but luckily I do have my mini cook's blowtorch, so let's give it a quick once over. lovely. Some people do like to do it all the way around, but I just like the top a little bit crunchy. Okay, these are actually gorgeous, and I have to explain myself because originally I filled about 20 of these, and then I took my slow motion video, and then I completely forgot that I had to take the end video like this, so I actually packed a few off and gave them to my parents, so I totally forgot to do that end video, so that is why at the moment you're only seeing 6, whereas in the cover shot you saw much more, because there were many more, but I forgot to film this part. Anyway, now I remember. As you can see, that gorgeous custard right in the middle, that torched meringue, and the super fluffy sponge base. Paranormal pastry activity. Shouldn't probably tilt it too much in case the meringue slides right off onto my lap. But the sweet vanilla-y smell of custard and sponge is amazing. Okay, I'm going to take a bite out of this because the more I move it around, the squishier it gets. So, cheers. Oh, that is good. Super rich custard in the middle. Fluffy like meringue around. A little bit of a crispy top when we torched it. And the super airy sponge underneath is amazing. And as you saw, super easy to make. So there you go, Sandakan UFO Tarts or Sandakan Kalpat Tarts. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe video, and I hope you'll join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full written recipe on my blog tashcakes.com and follow me on Instagram. I am tashcakes.tastes. Also, I'm on TikTok. I am Food in Slow Motion over there. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more. Give this video a like if you liked it to help other people find it. Comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular, and I'll see you guys next time. Be good, be nice, and have a good week. Maybe they should also call it a moustache cake.